There's concerns about demand coming from China. You have jitters about taper talks now among developed central banks. Do you think that metal prices have reached a peak?
I actually think that we are close to the early peak, at least. Market has been too complacent recently about the inflation outlook in the U.S. I think that inflation pressures are much more higher than what market is expecting. Labor market is getting very tight. Salaries are going higher. So my guess is that during the next Federal Reserve meeting due at the end of the day, at the end of June, the indication by the central bank will be of more taper than the market is expecting. So I actually betting on the first tightening in July, and the first reference about tapering already by during the June meeting. On the other hand, we also having some softening indication from out of China. China's economy is slowing down, as shown by the latest macro indicators. Yesterday, we learned about the trade balance, which showed not so a compelling picture from on the import side. Copper imports are slowing down. If you look at the indicator about local demand, the domestic premium of copper in China reached a record low at 28. Shanghai, sorry.
Yeah, no, I want to go back to your call that the Fed might actually start signaling taper talks in June, you say, versus what the market expecting, which is August, perhaps during the Jackson Hole summit. Is there enough evidence to see that kind of major policy signal? Because is there enough time to actually filter the noise with what actually is a signal?
Yeah, I think that Federal Reserve knows that the job market is getting tight. I think that market is is underestimating what is the impact of the virus, even in the psychological aspect, on how the people now look at the job market. After so many deaths, people now are changed the way of thinking about the job market. They are not that willing to travel as in the past. They are much more willing to find a job close to home. So they are a bit more choosy in picking the job. This is a driver which will contribute to push the salaries up, because firms will find more and more I can say obstacles in finding find people to work. So I think that the job market will be much more tighter than what the market is thinking currently.
Gianclaudio, I want to take a look at copper. Taking a breather today, I mean, it is pretty much linked to politics now, given that Peru, Chile holding elections, and depending on who wins, it could face higher taxes. I mean, what's the risk of that to the metals sector as a whole?
The short term is on the upside, of course. Supply has been remains pretty tight. But I think that when we see upside risk coming from supply inside a general downtrend coming from the demand, every spike is to be faded, is to be shorted. In my experience as a trader, so I'm gonna take any kind of upside move by copper in case some supply issue will come up as an opportunity to short the market. So I will advise my clients to hedge the warehouse in case copper produce another leg up.
I want to move on to oil. We've seen WTI above 70, but take a look at shale as well. You know, it's 50% above production costs, which means that shale producers will be encouraged to produce even more. How will this play out?
Well, I actually started to be very bullish on oil lately after a Dutch court on May 26 found that Shell is partially responsible for climate change and ordered the company to sharply reduce its carbon emissions. The climate change activists actually seems that continue to succeed in forcing the big oil to cut back on exploring, drilling, extracting, and refining. This represents, in my view, a very bullish driver for oil. On the geopolitical side, it's a bit worrying for us because it means that the balance of the power will switch in favor of OPEC plus countries again. But on an investor's point of view, that will contribute to make the supply picture tighter than what is currently now. So I think that what happened in Holland represents a game changer for oil, and that will pave the way to much more higher oil price in the future.